Welcome to another episode of Cooking Around the World. This is the COVID version 2, stage 4. We have a slightly different backdrop today. We're actually shooting this one from home with our new camera person, Jackie.
Hello.
Jackie. Okay, what we're doing today is a beef chow mein. We'll include this recipe on the site so you can see all the fun that goes on in this. The recipe, as stated here, says it's a beef chow mein using beef. In brackets I put beside that, you can also use chicken, you can use pork, you can use turkey, any mince you like for this dish. And basically any vegetables, within reason. This is a good clear out, a fridge clear out. Chuck anything you want into this thing, and it works. I actually couldn't get beef mince for this recipe today. Guess why? Our shelves have been cleaned out. Thank you, stage 4. So I'm actually using turkey mince today. 2 for $11. It's just using 500 grams of turkey mince. So what I'm going to do is going to get the my wok going here. We want that up pretty warm to get it started. And now I've prepped a few things. You don't really need to see me chopping onions. Just have a look at this. Onions, garlic. I've got some of our mushrooms prepared, which we'll get into them in a moment. But I just thought I'd get some of that prep done first because you don't really need to see all that. And we can get this started as quickly as we can. Right, our wok's coming up to speed. Just using a vegetable oil for this. About a tablespoon or so of oil. Be nice to get it a little bit hotter, but let's just get this on the go. With the rest, COVID cat, hungry cat. As soon as we start cooking, we get to hear from the cat. He's figured out when I'm here cooking, then there must be some food, maybe something will drop his way. Okay, just starting to get a little bit of a sizzle on that. In the recipe it just says chuck all these in together, the onion, the garlic, the mince, but I like to give it a little bit of, just a little bit of colour, just take that raw edge off the onions now. And I'll get the garlic in there right now too. That was 1 onion cut finely, 2 cloves of garlic, and I've chopped them down, minced them pretty well. You can use a device, just use a knife. I just used a knife to mince it down pretty well. Okay, just starting to get a little bit of action in there now. Get our turkey mince. We'll break it up a little bit as we go. Let's get that there. Oh, whoop, one for the Jackie.
Whoa, lucky.
So the cat's always hanging around at cooking time. Mum will be happy about that. She loves it when the cat's in eating with us. To help break up any mince, whenever I'm doing a dish with mince in it, to try and break up the lumps, you can just use your spoon and keep smashing. This is my little trick. You get a good old potato masher, and this is my favourite I use. This is my special mince masher. And just smash it through the mince like that. Come and have a look at that. It just breaks up those clumps as we go. If you're using a non-stick wok like this one is, it's handy to have a masher with curved edges so you're not going to scrape or scratch the surface of your non-stick. stirring through. We're just going to get a light cook onto that mince there. This has got plenty of cooking time to go yet. We just want to take the edge off it, just start to brown the mince. When we say brown it, you don't have to make it like as in overcooked brown. Just take the rawness off it. It'll start to turn white now, which is indicating that we're getting a little bit of cooking going on there now. Our wok is actually roaring hot at the moment. I'll turn that down. Another one for the cat. Bring that flame back a little bit. We add curry powder to the chow mein. The one I made the other day, which I generally do when I'm making it, I use a Malaysian curry powder, which came from one of the Asian supermarkets around, which is really nice, but it does have a bit of a kick to it, so it adds a little bit of chili. There is chili in it. I'm going to use good old, this is what's supposed to be done on it, this good old standard clove of India or Keen's curry powder, just a nice simple one. So we do a tablespoon of curry powder. The whole basic flavour of a chow mein is just a curry powder, believe it or not, for a Chinese dish. Let's stir that through. Break all those clumps as we go. Lovely. The good old clove of India. Is it made in England? I'm not quite sure. Probably after the Brits left India and they're trying to recreate the flavours that they'd known to love, become to love, good old curries, and they started to try to make them at home in England and added sultanas and apples and all that sort of stuff to them. Okay. Just getting all that turkey mince coated now. Okay, while that's just cooking off now, I'm going to just do, I'm going to do some carrots and celery. You can just do simple thinly sliced carrots, or I'm going to use my shredding machine here, which will give us some matchsticks. You can cut your matchsticks by knife if you wish. It's a very long, slow process. Or you can just cut your carrot thinly. And we'll do our celery. Just cut that thinly on an angle. Getting this action in, Jack. Okay, that can all go in. Just have to cook that to soften it slightly. Now, this recipe calls for mushrooms, and you can just use your good old standard mushroom caps, which I've already sliced up a few here, as you can see. I've also done a few king oyster mushrooms. These are king oyster mushrooms, obviously a Chinese style mushroom. These give it, well, normal mushrooms will cook down to the consistency, as you know, with mushrooms. These ones will give them more of like a slippery texture in the dish, which is very much like you would encounter if you're having a Chinese dish, because Chinese will generally use shiitake mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, king oyster mushrooms. Stir over here. Beautiful. go in. This is, as you can see, this is starting to get rather large, and that's in a wok also. We will actually fill this wok. This is what we're doing here. This is almost before we get the noodles into it. So I'll show you a little trick when we get to that stage. These mushrooms will reduce. Put them up. These mushrooms will reduce in size as they cook, as they'll lose water. These little chunks here which will break up. Okay. So we're just going to let that cook up for a few moments, and we'll come back in a few minutes. Okay, just made 1 cup of chicken stock. Oh, that's my favourite. I love the mince stock. Just add that to chow mein. This looks like a lot of liquid going in, but it'll reduce, and when we get the rest of the stuff in, the noodles and things, that will soak it up. It'll absorb. At this point, also going to put in some peas. Calls for peas and beans, whatever you have really, especially if you can get your hands on any good Asian greens. I couldn't get any beans, they were wiped out at the supermarket. Right, also going to start adding our sauces. So we've got, start off with oyster sauce. Got that? We got that on? Yeah. Okay, we've got 1/3 of a cup of oyster sauce, so we'll get that in. There we go. Need 2 tablespoons of Hoi Sin sauce. Put that on. 1 tablespoon. There are 2 different brands of oyster sauce in. After the first bottle finished, that's why there's a difference in colour. Okay. Two tablespoons of soy sauce. 1 for the pot. Now, while I'm at that stage of adding the sauces, if you find there's a million recipes for beef chow mein on the internet and in Chinese cookbooks, and they just use the oyster sauce and the soy sauce and curry powder. And the first time I had this, I thought there's just something missing. There's something that was making it, it's just leaving this sort of Chinesey, Asian flavouring out of it. So I decided to add the Hoi Sin sauce myself. You won't find that traditionally on recipes for beef chow mein or chow mein. If you wish to add them yourself, don't add it yourself, fine, you can add whatever you like. I just thought when I added a tablespoon of Hoi Sin sauce, the flavour suddenly became a bit more Asian. So that's up to you. It's just me bastardising another recipe. Allowed to use that term in this context, Jackie?
In this context.
You're vetting for us?
Yeah.
Okay. Next we're going to do is add some, let me find the start of this, some Chinese cabbage. You can use normal white cabbage or green cabbage, just a standard cabbage. This is a wombok or Chinese cabbage. They're generally huge. This would make about 5 of these. We're going to add, well, they say 1/4 of a small Chinese cabbage. So I think that's more than enough. Chop that down a little bit. And all go in now. This looks like a huge amount, but it's just like lettuce, spinach, those sort of things in a warm dish. They will wilt away. Stir that into the sauce. Just get it stirred through quickly. Okay, here we go. You could put a lid on this if you wanted to, help it wilt down a little bit faster. We'll just give it a few moments to do that. Cat's having a field day down here. But we haven't mentioned before in any of these videos, I tend to be a little bit messy in the kitchen. Our normal camera person, Deb, sees this all the time. She's ducking and weaving as things fly past. Okay, that's just coming up to boil again now. I think I might just stop this right now and we'll come back to you in a few moments. Okay, what we're going to do, we're just going to get a serve of noodles up right now. I'm only going to do one serve for the moment. It's just boiled water, freshly boiled water. Pour it over. That only takes seconds to bring that ready to cook, soften the noodles. We use chow mein noodles for this. Makes sense. What I'm going to do right now, I don't want to try and cook that whole lot. If I pile that up with enough noodles, I would be overflowing the wok. What I'm going to do is take some off. This is just for a one person serve. Take as much liquid as you can with that. We'll remove the wok. Bring this back to the boil. Ouch. These will now be... Ow! Can't quite hold it. There we go. Okay, let's get it out of the way. Ouch! Now while you're over here, I've got a tin of water chestnuts, Jackie. Just going to drain the water chestnuts. Now I'd put this whole can of water chestnuts into the entire dish. I'm just going to get a few out now. And we'll just cut them down a little bit. Water chestnuts don't have a huge flavour to them. They'll absorb the flavour from the dish. But what they do is they add a little bit of crunch to the dish. Stir that up. Try and break these up a little bit. Okay. Bombs away. That is basically how simple this all is. More of the meat in there. To serve, you could actually use the little fried shallots, or what I've got today is some chopped up peanuts and a little bit more crunch to the dish. I like to use the Nobby's beer nuts because I just love Nobby's beer nuts. They're salted, a lovely accompaniment to any Asian dish, chopped peanuts. And there we have it, in this case, turkey chow mein. Hope you enjoy that. We'll see you next time. Bye.